Hey, what's up, folks? Welcome back to On Texas Football. Welcome back to the Winning Drive. I'm lifetime Longhorn Rout. Pleased to be joined by fellow lifetime Longhorn and the young prodigy, CJ Vogel. Also joined by the coach, former high school football coach at Burnett, Capel, Brownwood, Rotan, Belton. Also played college football at Abilene Christian. Coach there as well, multiple stints, and also was on the staff at the University of Texas for multiple head coaches. And today, these days, you can catch his work over at ShipleyRanches.com. It's Coach Bob Shipley. What's going on, fellas? What's going on, Coach? How you doing?
Enjoying a little wet weather out in Abilene.
It's getting cooler.
Good
It's a little cool out there.
60 degrees this morning, baby.
What? Hold up. What? 60 degrees? Hold up, man. That's I'm jealous now. I didn't know you was getting that kind of. Oh, I need that. That's fall right there.
It's. I actually came down doing some work in Burnett, my mom's, and so I'm at her house right now. She's fixing to move out of this house, so there's not a whole lot left in here, but we're helping her. So it hit here a little earlier, so maybe it's coming your way.
That's a beautiful thing. Come on our way. CJ, what's going on with you, brother? I know you've been busy. You got a chance to get to Sark's media availability today, so we'll get that and start there. Remember, my man Stevie Lee, Lifetime Longhorn Stevie Lee is going to join us coming up here probably in about 5 minutes. We'll get to Lifetime Longhorn Stevie Lee, courtesy of our friends over at Hard Grove Roofing. Of course, we will talk about the Longhorns' performance versus ULM. We'll talk about Arch Manning, get everybody's thoughts about the sneak preview we saw for the future of Texas football, the sneak peek of Arch Manning getting his first starts. We'll also get into a little bit of Texas' upcoming SEC opponent, the Mississippi State Bulldogs. But first, CJ, what is the update that you heard from Sark today regarding Quinn Ewers?
He was back on the practice field today. So wearing the helmet, wearing the shoulder pads, going through some practice, drills, and just being back on the football field for Quinn. Last week he was throwing just a little bit, just keeping the wing warm, if you would. Now going back through some of the game planning, some of the install for the week ahead against Mississippi State as Texas begins its SEC era, really, first ever game in the SEC. So right now he's listed as questionable. That was per Steve Sarkisian in his press conference Monday morning. Of course, we'll see how he kind of takes Tuesday and Wednesday to feel physically before Sark gives us a final update on when on what's to expect in the injury report from Texas. Of course, that's SEC mandated now, so we will see a true designation health-wise for Quinn Ewers at some point later this week.
All right, Coach, get your thoughts on it real quickly. First of all, I want to get your thoughts on Arch and what you saw from Arch over the weekend. And then I want you to tell me as a coach, what you would do in this situation with Quinn Ewers, obviously getting better, recovering, but then Mississippi State ahead and him being questionable about what the plan would be. I want to get your thoughts on that as well.
Yeah, I think Arch looked good. I think after the press conference, some of those things make sense. We were talking about how much he liked to air it out, downfield. And according to Sark, those should have been some checkdowns, But according to Sark, but Arch was letting them fly. But the guy's got a lot of confidence, but along with his, as he gets more experience, he matures. And you just have to swallow your pride sometimes and throw the check down. And so it sounds like maybe they're dealing with a little bit of that. That'll come. That's easy. That's an easy fix. One of the picks, he probably had a little too much mustard on that throw. And, it was a tipped ball. But as we always say, a tipped ball is a caught ball, usually by the other team. And so anyway, overall, not disappointed at all. I think he was stepping up. He took some shots. He was stepping up into the pocket and, delivering the balls. He was getting hit a few times. He showed some toughness, some resilience. I think probably this was a little bit of a reality. He's still great. We know he's great. but he's not going to instantly walk in and be the greatest quarterback, his first start that's ever played in the orange and white. And some people may have thought that was a possibility, that he'd come in his first game. We'd forget who Vince Young even was, that didn't happen. Although I think he was impressive. I think he's got all the tools he needs. He just needs more playing time.
Yeah.
And as both of you guys know, and everybody that's listened to our shows here on OTF knows my view about Quinn and when Quinn should come back. It ain't time. I mean, it's just not time, in my opinion. I'm not a doctor. I'm not there. I haven't seen him, haven't talked to him, know nothing about the situation other than what we've heard through the media, no inside info. But to me, as a non-contact injury, I think I would try to sit him another week and let Arch get another week experience. But, I'm not getting paid the money that Sark's getting paid to make those decisions. So that'll be his. All we can do at this point is obviously second guess or give our own opinions about what we think. But obviously he's with him every day. He knows what's going on. He'll make the right decision. He's not going to make a decision that's going to hurt the team's chance not purposely going to make a decision that's going to hurt our team's national championship, or he will not make a decision that could put Quinn in harm's way. So I think he'll have to convince him that he's totally ready to go. And I like the fact that we have an open week the next week. And so he's played enough. I don't buy into the, knocking the rust off of it, for the Mississippi State game. I think he's been in enough battles. He knows what he's looking for and what he needs. And he'll have that whole week to practice as well.
Yep.
Obviously he's already practicing. So
it's a good point. Yeah.
Anyway.
As CJ mentioned, he's already practicing. No, good point there, Coach. I agree with everything you said there about Arch and the growing pains. Everybody saw the 5 touchdowns and 29 plays and figured, oh, this is how it's going to be every game. And it's like, well, yeah, there'll be flashes of that brilliance, but also there will be teachable, coachable moments. And we saw plenty of those. Before we get to our special guest, CJ, I want to get your thoughts about Arch and what you saw this past weekend from young Arch Manning in his first start.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good learning opportunity. To Coach's point, he lit the world on fire. He set, headlines ablaze with what he was able to do against UTSA. To expect a guy in his first career start to carry that over, name, star rating, pedigree, regardless, I think was maybe a bit premature. But I do think it was a good learning day for him, right? There's a lot of times where maybe he had too much mustard on the ball, as Coach was saying on the pick. He went deep more than any Texas quarterback we've ever seen under Steve Sarkisian here at Texas. So we can talk about that here later, Rod, because I did ask Sark about the proclivity there to throw the ball deep. It was interesting answer there, but I don't know. I think you can look at that game and say, they had a game plan in place. They wanted to stretch the field vertically. They didn't want to run Arch Manning all that much, because I do think when he is the quarterback and you are able to look at that quarterback room without necessarily missing a guy, you would see Arch take off and run the football more than he did against ULM. I think the one time that he actually ran the ball was on a bobbled snap in which he just kind of picked it up and said, let's see what I can pick up. And it was about 2 or 3 yards. So the running game will be a part of the Texas offense with Arch. We didn't see that last Saturday. I do think he'll check down more so as well. But with Quinn practicing, I'm going to differ from Coach a little bit. And I think this might be my lack of not having been on a sideline or in a locker room before, and kind of from the outside saying, yeah, listen, this is what I'm seeing versus the actual week in, week out, of going through a season with a coaching mindset. But if Quinn's healthy, I think you need to put him in the game at least for a quarter, at least for a half. I mean, I have a hard time seeing 3 weeks of sitting on the sideline, of not playing, of not seeing a live defense, and then coming in and be tested in a neutral, hostile field against an Oklahoma defense who we could say everything we want about the Oklahoma offense. That's the issue. The Oklahoma defense, not the issue for that team north of the Red River. They can fly around, they can get after you, and they take away the football. We saw it last year. We're seeing it right now. They're the number one takeaway defense in all of the country, I believe. I would like to see Quinn, if he's going to step back foot in Dallas at the Cotton Bowl for the Texas Longhorns against Oklahoma, I'd like to know that he at least has a quarter or a half against Mississippi State to just get back in the rhythm, right? Just feel it out because, again, you're going to be off that week between Mississippi State and Oklahoma. If he's healthy enough to do it, throw him out there. I'd like to see him a little bit. Don't keep him out there for too long because, as Coach, you were saying, it's a non-contact injury. There's no telling when it might flare up again, and you're a 38-point favorite, right? Arch is going to be more than capable to go out there and get the job done long-term. I'd just like to see him find some rhythm and get his feet wet once again before going up to Dallas.
I agree ultimately with Coach. I think I would try to keep him out. I would err on the side of being conservative and, being cautious. But the Kim Kardashian, Nicki Minaj, Serena Williams size, Cardi B size, Megan Thee Stallion size, but I did not expect him to give Jaden Blue 25 rushes and 7 targets in that game.
Great point. That's a great point.
Right?
So that proves Stark doesn't think like we think, or
yes,
at least
exactly.
how I think. Because I'm like, no, don't play him.
Yes. So exactly, Coach. So I was thinking, because I agree with you, Coach. I would keep him out and want to get him fresh for Oklahoma. We've seen him do that before in his career. But what he did with Jaden Blue and making Jaden Blue the workhorse makes me think, like CJ said, if he can go, that he's going with him. Because I did not expect Jaden Blue to get that many opportunities. Guys, that was workhorse stuff. And it's either Sark wanting to showcase Jaden Blue to the world and maybe reaffirm his commitment to the run game. I'm not sure what that was about. I enjoyed it. It was great to watch. But man, I was surprised considering how how really challenged you are really with the depth at running back right now on the roster. But we'll get to that. But at first, let's get to our special guest. Let's not keep him waiting because I know he's champing at the bit. He wants to talk some Texas football as well. And we are grateful. There you go, my man, legendary lifetime Longhorn Stevie Lee, joining us as he does every Monday, courtesy of our good friends at Hartgrove Roofing. Know who's on your roof. Courtesy of our friends at Hartgrove Roofing. This segment brought to you by HartgroveRoofing.com, 512-645-3202. Thanks to Hartgrove Roofing for sponsoring the winning drive with offices all over Texas, Louisiana, and Arkansas. Hartgrove is the choice of customers everywhere for superior, reliable service. If you're in need of a new roof, you'll want to know who's on your roof. It's Hartgrove Roofing. And now, courtesy of our friends at Hartgrove Roofing, you can get a free roof inspection right now if you reach out to him. So if you have something going on with your roof, you want to reach out to our friends over at Hartgrove Roofing, 512-645-3202, or reach out to HartgroveRoofing.com. Thank you, Stevie Lee, for joining us. Thank you to Hartgrove Roofing. Check him out at Stevie Lee 65 on the gram. I think the young folks call it. All right, Stevie, I want to get your thoughts, man, about the game. Your first impression of Arch Manning, his first start as a Longhorn. What were your thoughts overall?
Oh, man, I liked it. First of all, what's up, guys? How y'all?
What's up?
It was fun, man. It was just fun to watch. It was, you know what, I felt like the future was very bright at the University of Texas, man. We're going to be good for a long time, guys. There's some learning things that he has to take in, like, sometimes you might want to take that sack, or go ahead and try to, if you're out of the pocket, go ahead and throw it out of bounds, man. He forced that first that first interception. He forced it in there. But the bright side of that, he trusts his receivers. He thought that they can go up and get it. He just threw it up there, hung it up there for him because, our receivers are just better athletes than anybody on the field, So yeah. that's the excuse I made for him, So it was just fun to watch, man. And hats off to the kid, dude.
No doubt. Let's switch over to the defensive side, man, because I know you're a little giddy about this defense, and I am too. And I was reluctant to throw this term out there because, it's been a while since you can use this term without losing credibility describing the Texas defense. Is this an elite defense? Stevie Lee, you played on a Texas defense once. So did I. We played in the same defense once. And I thought at one point we got to call ourselves elite at one point, right? I think we were playing at that level once, and there have been a few times since where Texas defense have been considered elite. Are we watching an elite defense, or is this all a fugazi because they haven't seen anybody that's really tested them yet? Or is it both?
Okay, we have a really, really good defense right now. But the Meg Thee Stallion, but I think it's too early to say, man. I really do. I'm sorry. I just think it's a little bit too early. Let's get into OU and then ask me after that, man. But y'all got me on here for the stories and things like that. So one quick story is I hung out with Abram Booty and Josh Booty from Shreveport, Louisiana.
That's right.
From my high school. I played with Abram Booty, right?
Okay.
He is the dad of General Booty, the starting quarterback for ULM, right?
Okay.
So we go after the game. They text me. They say, hey, come over here to this spot. Let's go and hang out. So I walk in there, and Abram Booty, the receiver, he played receiver in high school and at LSU. He comes up to me. He's like, man, that number 0, heels or heels?
Yeah.
He was all over my boy, man.
All over that booty, huh?
All over that booty.
They had a whale of a game.
Yeah, he had a hell of a game, man. So shout out to Anthony, man. You made the father feel the hits, you know?
Yeah, like that.
Yeah, man. So it was fun.
We got to see 2 straight night games now, and it's kind of turned into more than just a football game, right? We've talked about it with all the the light shows. They got a fire twirler in the corner. I mean, it feels like a circus almost at the game when you even account for Bevo being in the corner. Stevie, going back to when y'all were playing and roaming around at DKR, I mean, was there ever moments where you would look at it and say, oh, wow, like this is a pretty neat deal? I mean, what were some of the moments that are, stadium atmosphere kind of things that made you sit back and reflect in real time and say, okay, this is pretty sweet?
So we had our tradition was running down that hill. Remember that, Rob? Like when we came out, we kind of ran down the hill. Yeah. And it was a longer way to the bench and things like that. So that was really fun. But what we got right now at the University of Texas, man, now we have fans on that end zone. Like we had an open end zone back then.
Right.
I'll tell y'all how old we are, right? So like we were in the horseshoe back then. Yeah. The track wasn't in there. We didn't have a track in the stadium.
Not that old.
But back then there was no seating in the south end zone, right?
Exactly. Yeah, you're correct.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so we ran down that hill. I love senior day because they would put the seniors' numbers on that hill back there. But it was special then. But right now, what we got right now, y'all, it's second to none, man. You got 103,000 people in that in that stadium. It's a beautiful, clean, nice stadium. I was invited up to a suite with some friends, and hobnobbing it up there, man. But I quickly was like, hey guys, thanks for having me up here. I need to go down here with the people. I'm a man of the people, right?
The sweet life.
Yeah. But no, man, the stadium atmosphere, CDC has done a great job of the game day atmosphere. I think that he was trying to save a little money and not do the drone show this week. So because a lot of people were looking for the drone show, and I heard some people were upset that
I didn't realize that. I didn't know.
Parents were bringing their kids to see the drones, and all of a sudden they didn't see them.
We're spoiling them already.
Yeah.
Hey, well, okay. So what was it last week against UTSA? They delayed the game a little bit because of all the smoke coming across the field. What was that, CJ? What was that smoke from?
Yeah, they've been doing it for about 2.5 years now. In front of the student section, they'll have in between the third and the fourth quarter, as everybody's getting hyped up, they play the "What Starts Here Changes the World" video on the jumbotron. We had the drone show, obviously. in between the third and the fourth quarter, they display a lot of smoke in front of the student section, I guess, just to add to the atmosphere. It does kind of linger around, and when it's not windy, right, it'll just kind of sit in the middle of the playing field.
Oh,
So
man.
I don't know if the students enjoy it. It does look cool at times, but
It does look cool.
I do think at some point, there is a lot of smoke inside the stadium.
Yeah,
so
not if you're trying to catch a hunt coming through a smoke cloud.
it's literally like a cloud. Yeah.
Just a lot of those kids out there, they're used to being in smoky rooms and with lots of.
Hey,
clouds.
I survived the jetpack days, guys.
Oh,
I
I
survived
jetpack,
the
dude.
jetpack. That was that
Yeah.
not the silliest thing you ever saw, guy?
I remember that, dude. Yeah.
Yeah.
No doubt. That's what I said. That we've come a long way from jetpack.
A
dude.
long way from the
Long way.
jetpack dude.
Yeah, that the ambiance and atmosphere of the game has come a long way. Hey, Steve, let me ask you about this, because this was a big moment in the game that actually had nothing to do with what happened on the field. And I'm sure you noticed it because we all did. Quinn Ewers giving the pep talk to the team on the sideline during the game. And it was a powerful moment, I thought. Janae Barron, like kind of his hype man on the side, like, yeah, what he said, yeah. Which I also love because Janae Barron is kind of mocking him a little bit, but also kind of very proud of him in that moment, I'm sure. That yes, this is kind of what we wanted to see from him in that moment. This is Quinn's team. And in that moment where everybody's excited about Arch, and the headline is all about Arch, and of course, the future couldn't be brighter for Texas. In that moment, watching Quinn give the pep talk to the team, watching him come out of that shell to ascend to that leadership role and embrace it. That to me was a beautiful thing. I thought that may have been one of my top 5 biggest highlights of the game.
That was actually really important too, man. Not only letting the team know that let's get fired up, but it let everyone know that it's still Quinn's team, right? You know who else it let know that it's still Quinn's team was the Heisman voters, Yeah. So he's out this week. No one's talking about him, but he got some camera time, firing up his guys, still being a leader out there, and taking control of what he can take control of. Had the headset in, very involved in the offensive huddle, and for lack of better words, still getting camera time for those Heisman voters at the end of the year. So that when I saw that, I was like, yeah, he in there. Remember this, Heisman? He's still involved.
It's a good point.
Yeah,
great point.
If there is a game to miss, it is a ULM, because it's inconsequential to the grand scheme. Texas was going to win this game big regardless. Mm-hmm. And I do think it might hurt his numbers by the end of the year, but it's not going to hurt the storyline or the overall impact of Quinn on this team. Stevie, I did want to ask you a question about the defensive line, because we get your expertise on that unit week in and week out. We're so thankful for it. I wanted to ask you about it. It continues to be quiet from a sack perspective number, right? But they are getting pressure, right? There's a beautiful moment, I believe, in the second or third quarter where you see Vernon Broughton just absolutely clobber the center with a swim move. He gets by him, and instantly the ball's thrown in the dirt for, an incompletion. You're not seeing the sacks, but you're feeling the pressure. Is there a moment, I don't know if it's talked about in the D-line room or the edge room or in the defensive line room in general, that's, hey, we got to get after the quarterback. We got to get him on the ground. We're not doing enough. Is there pressure that builds up at all? Or is it just, hey, if it's there for the taking, we can get him. Just keep getting and making life difficult for him every snap.
See, man, that's a really good question, man. And I appreciate your question. But you're right. We really got to get more push with the front four, right? But I still like the schemes that like Anthony got a sack, and then we got to talk about our Polynesian kid. What is it, Luna? Yeah. He's flying all over the place too, man. So, but we're getting pressure on quarterbacks, man. But I don't know, man. Everything's working. We are still a really good defense. I guess when we get down to the nitty gritty and this big game stretch that we have coming up with OU and then we have Georgia after that, and then who we have after Georgia? We got somebody after Georgia.
Goes into Vanderbilt and Florida.
And Vandy's not a cakewalk anymore, right? They're out there going ball, right? Yeah. And so when we get down to the thick of it, man, we really got to get more push. Yes, it's some pressure on us. I ain't playing no more. On those guys to actually get back there to the quarterback with just their 1 or 2 moves on the line. But we're still getting there and getting them pressure. So why am I complaining? I don't know.
Exactly. Does it get frustrating whenever it's a very obvious pass situation and the quarterback's back there, takes a 1-step drop and gets rid of the football? Because that's what we've seen so far, right? We haven't seen guys take those 3 or 5, 7-yard drops and, sit in the pocket and let things develop. They know about the pressure and, they're trying to get the ball out quick. That's been a theme. Does it get frustrating at times?
It's so frustrating, man. And the big frustrating part is they used to lunge at our feet. So you couldn't jump, right? So to keep your hands out of the air, they would just lunge at your feet for those quick out routes or those quick crossing routes and things like that. So it's so frustrating, man. One time one guy was lunging at my feet. I kind of gave him a knee. Don't do that. Don't do that again. You got to give him a knee to the side of the helmet. But that's old school football where it was okay to get concussions.
Man, for real, you got to walk it off. They told you to walk it off back then.
Walk it off, man. Drink some water.
Yeah, walk that off. Y'all good. No, I think it's interesting that Longhorn fans, this is how spoiled we are. We are, being nitpicky about the sacks. Yeah, we got the number 1 scoring defense in the country. And it's like, well, what about them sacks though? But you got the number 1
we are going to need them.
In the country.
Yeah, but we're going to need the sacks later on, though.
You are, but like you said, it's working right now though. You need the sacks when your pass defense was terrible. But now your pass defense is good. You don't necessarily need the sacks to be elite. You're showing that now because you're top 5 in interceptions. You're basically top 10 in every major statistical category defensively, except for sacks. So it's okay that you're not elite in everything. It's all right.
Did we only get 2 sacks this game?
It was Leon Lafau and Anthony Hill.
7. You got as many sacks as you do interceptions. You got 7 interceptions. You're leading the SEC, and you're top 5 in the country, but you got 7 sacks. So that
tells you a whole lot.
Hey, Vernon Broughton was close, as I mentioned. Colton Vosick was very close towards the end of that game as well. So, again, the pressure's there. The sack numbers, to your point, Stevie, and I agree with you, like to see him a little bit more. But that's kind of the pickiness that we can be right now. When you have 2 touchdowns allowed in 4 games, you have to find something that can improve. And right now, I mean, we're picking on him a little bit, but that's just kind of where we see the next step for this defense.
I bet if you ask General Booty, his mom and his dad, how many times he got sacks, he'd be like 8, 9. I
feel like Booty was under duress. It was he
was. No question.
That was some stressed out Booty right there. That's some
ain't nothing like a Booty out of dealing with distress.
Yes, distressed Booty. Nobody likes that.
No.
All right, Stevie, we won't keep you too long. That is a good way to end it. Stressed out Booty. All right, thank you very much, Stevie. We'll talk to you down the line, brother. We love you.
Fellas.
All right.
See you, Stevie.
All right, I'm sure that's not a great segue for Hardgrove Roofing, but I apologize, Hardgrove Roofing. Thank you for your sponsorship. We're very grateful for you sponsoring that segment of the Winning Drive. Hardgrove Roofing, with offices all over Texas, Louisiana, and Arkansas, Hardgrove Roofing is the choice of customers everywhere for superior, reliable service. If you're in need of a new roof, you'll want to know who's on your roof with our friends over at Hardgrove Roofing. And folks, you can actually check out Hardgrove Roofing for a free roof inspection today. If you have anything going on with your roof, you can reach out to them today at 512-645-3202 or reach out at hardgroveroofing.com. All right, booty talk. I know this booty stuff. I'm gonna go back and listen to Craig Way's call to see how many great puns Craig Way threw in there with booty. Yeah, wearing out that booty. Yes. Rod be the booty warrior for the Boondocks. Yeah, exactly. I mean, It's cool. These puns, these little one-liners are writing themselves. I like Ryan Nelson here. Agent Zero, your mission, if you choose to accept it, is to get that booty. Yes, General Booty. Yes, it's too easy. Thank you, guys. We appreciate it. All right, we'll get to your questions. Throw them out there, as many as you can, and we'll get to the super chats. Remember, you know how it works. You got super chats. They can interrupt the show anytime. They jump to the front of the line. Booty needs protection, like that hard girl roofing gives you, bro. Good job.
Marketing major.
That's what exactly. I mean, I wish I was as brilliant as you were right there with that nice segue. I am not. All right, gentlemen, can we just real quick before we get back to, we'll get to the questions here. And by the way, if you didn't see the video, Quinn Ewers, my man CB is the one who has the video, by the way. I should have threw that out there because that's where I saw it, and I think it's got a ton of likes right now. But go check out my man CB's Twitter. I'll give him a shout out at ChrisGB002000. And that's the video of Quinn Ewers giving the pep talk to the guys on the sideline. If you haven't seen it, it's pretty cool. I think it shows a lot of maturity and evolution of Quinn as a leader. And I think Stevie made a good point, guys. I didn't think about that, but that was a Heisman kind of moment without playing, that he still was able to, show basically show his leadership and show that it was his ownership of the team, if you will, that it's still his team. Yeah, Arch can get the headlines for now, but this is Quinn's team. I thought that was an interesting moment for Quinn. I thought it was a big moment for him. All right, let's get – sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say it's interesting in a way. He's shown some of those leadership qualities on the field before, but in a way it's like it took for him to be out sidelined to have maybe the most leader-esque moment of his career here. I don't know if he does that in pads, right?
I agree.
I don't know if we've seen that completely where he calls the team together and gets them hyped up. But, hey, credit to Quinn because we're continuing to see the evolution of him as a leader as well as a football player. And that, above anything else, is important not just for him long-term but for this team long-term this season.
Yeah. No, I really enjoyed it, man. It was, like I said, I thought it was a true moment of growth for him. He's going to need that at the next level. They draft you to be the franchise. They want you to be the face of the franchise, but also be a leader of that team. Randy D. Jones says, Craig Way describes the booty uniform detail and then segs into a six-man football story. Yeah, Craig Way is the greatest play-by-play guy I've ever worked with or ever even heard. Like, nobody's as good as C-Way. So I know he had some beautiful booty references in there. I actually texted him before the game just to make sure he was ready to go with the booty references. So I know he threw one in there just for me if he could. All right, let's get to – you know what? Before we get to the questions here, can we talk about the defense a little bit? Because there's been a lot of talk about Arch and how great Arch is, obviously the offense and what's going on there. And we'll talk more about the offense, but I don't think we've given the defense enough credit. I didn't realize that they had actually, after their performance versus ULM, and I saw your stat, CJ. I would love for you to repeat it about the second half. The yards that were given up. That is a great stat. I won't even spoil it. I'll let CJ give it to you. It's a fantastic stat. It shows you how dominant.
Yeah, how about that?
Oh man, it's amazing. But they're the number one defense actually in the country right now, scoring defense. And scoring defense is what matters. That's points on the board. And right now they are tied for the best scoring defense in the country. That's a hell of an accomplishment. I don't give a damn at what point in the season you're the number one scoring defense. At any point, coach, that's a great accomplishment. But if you go look at it, it seems like, in all the major statistical categories, except for sacks. I get it, Longhorn fans. They're not highly ranked in sacks. But shout out to my man, Blake Monroe. He had a great tweet at Blake Monroe, OTF. Scoring D, number one. Total D, number 5. That's yards. Red zone defense, they're number 2. Third down defense, they're number 4. Right now, if you look at first downs allowed, Texas is number 9. If they're passing defense, right now, Texas is number 8. They do have 7 interceptions we mentioned. That's also a number 4 in the country. And their pass efficiency defense is also number 8 in the country right now. Coach, Stevie said it was too early to start using the word elite. And he's probably right about that. He's probably right because they have not faced anybody just yet. But even against the competition they have faced, they have been absolutely dominant and suffocating. When do we use the word elite with this group? When can we do it and it be not an exaggeration?
If we're going to use it, when do you use it? When Georgia pulls out of town.
Okay.
If you're going to be able to use it, that's when you use it.
Okay.
I think, with Oklahoma's offense struggling the way they are, Mississippi State struggling the way they are, you can't really use either one of those games, if you ask me, to say. But after the Georgia game, I think they certainly have all the looks. They have everything going their way to be considered an elite defense. I'm just not ready to brand that on them yet, but I think we will be. I just don't know that they've done enough against quality competition to say this is an elite defense. Now, for most schools that are on the bottom of these rankings, if they had these rankings, they would be saying they're an elite defense. To most people, this is an elite defense, but most of our staff members' point of view is that we're thinking and measuring Texas as a blue blood, one of the best teams in the country, and so you can have a really, really good defense and still be a number 15 or 18 or 20 ranked team. Our standards are very high. My standards are very high. So I'm not about to stamp something on a team just because we're better than we've been in a while. No, it's elite is elite. It's not just something that we haven't been good for a while, so let's call this elite. Yeah, that's not how I roll.
That's not how Coach rolls. I like the after Georgia thing. That's fair. After Georgia.
Yeah, that's fair. That is fair. Though, and I think Texas, given who they've played, right, it's not been the highest of competition, especially on the offense side of the ball, with the way that Michigan is still trying to figure out what their offensive identity is a few weeks into the year.
Mm-hmm.
With that said, they've been suffocating, right? Colorado State was a top 20 passing offense a year ago. I know that they had some turnover, but, they're 2-2. Michigan's 3-1. They just beat another ranked top 10, top 11 team at home this past week. So there is offensive capability. I think holistically looking at it in the sense that you're not allowing big runs and you're not allowing busts in coverage. Right now, the sound defense leans me more so than the overall impact or scoring perspective, I guess, that Texas is closer to elite than we've seen in quite some time. That's probably where I would give them the highest praise at the moment is, aside from that one run against UTSA, where can you point to and say Texas was way out of position, Texas didn't fit the right gaps, Texas didn't cover the right guys? There really hasn't been an individual moment. You can point to the long touchdown at Michigan that was really, in my opinion, just a heck of a play, right? That was a great throw on the run. That was a great catch and individual effort to find the end zone. Sometimes you just got to tip your cap. But there's not been those big-time errors or mental errors. And that, to me, is the biggest sign that Texas is taking those steps. I called them elite after the game on Saturday, and I think I still lean in that category because, again, you allowed 2 touchdowns in 4 games. There hasn't been a Texas defense in Lord knows how long that would have been at this number through 4 games regardless of opponent. And Texas has gone through spurts where they haven't played teams of this caliber, right? Remember, there's a game against San Jose State, I believe, about 5-6 years ago where it was 28-21 at the final score, right? It was a close game, and that's more points allowed in one game than Texas allowed in 4, basically. So I'm loving what I'm seeing. And again, to be nitpicky, where's the weakness, right? Where's the one area that you haven't seen the individual talent stand out? You can maybe point to the sack numbers, but again, I think you're taking 50 pressures in 4 games. That's a pretty good mark so far.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. Exactly. I feel I like what you said. They're as close to elite as we've seen in a long time, and the true test will be Georgia. But the truth is, they get a very favorable schedule in terms of opposing offenses this season.
Oh, yeah.
That's the way it's working out. As Coach mentioned, Oklahoma, they're fustercluck right now, guys. They're a dumpster fire of an offense. They're just trying to figure things out. A&M, they're not going to be the offense that, Colin Klein hoped they would be early on. Arkansas may be making some noise right now, but hell, their quarterback's completing less than 60% of his passes, so he's not very efficient, but he is a a dynamic presence and a playmaker there at quarterback. There are no elite prolific offenses on this schedule. Georgia can be that, but even they have not proven that's what their identity.
Not on the road.
Yes, exactly. So, the defense, I don't know that test, coach. I don't know if that test actually ever comes in the season. You may get it in the SEC title game. You may get it in the college football playoff. And I think that's the fear. The fear is that you don't get a real test.
You get blindsided. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're like,
well,
hey,
I like what CJ said. I think right now we're a really good, sound defense with the potential to be elite. But we just got to be consistent.
Yep.
We've seen a lack of consistency through the last couple of seasons. But if we can continue to be consistent, we're certainly sound. Our athletic ability gives us – you can be sound without having great athletic ability. Your players just get beat, Yep. They're not in the wrong place. They got the right fits. They're just getting overwhelmed. But we have the talent. We're sound, very sound in my opinion. I like the way you put that, CJ, which means the potential to be elite is there. Only time will tell.
All right, let's answer some questions. But before we do that, let's thank one of our sponsors for the winning drive. Thank you very much to Flat Creek Estate Winery. You had me bragging about Flat Creek all the time, and why not? Did you know that one of the most awarded wines in Texas is actually the vineyard closest to Austin? That's right, folks. Flat Creek Estate Winery, just minutes from downtown Austin, and they've won award after award this year for their vintage wine, Super Texan. It's one of my wife's favorite wines actually right now, too. Super Texan is now available at your local spec, so give it a try. Of course, Flat Creek is also a gorgeous venue with barbecues and wine tastings every single weekend. It's perfect for a day date with your significant other or a weekend getaway with your significant other. That's Flat Creek Estate Winery. Go to flatcreekestate.com to check out all of their wines, or you can go to Specs. You can also go to Central Market. They have it there as well, because I do some shopping there, and I see Flat Creek Estate all the time. It's where we get some of our Flat Creek wine. The Super Texan is fantastic, but they also have a lot of other great blends for you. Go check it out at flatcreekestate.com. Thank you very much to Flat Creek Estate for sponsoring the winning drive. All right, let's get to the questions. We got a bunch of them here. We'll try to get through as many of them as we can, and then we'll also dive into some other topics, some things that Sark brought up in his media availability. CJ was on the scene. First, let's get to this question. Armando says, I have a question way before the show starts. What is y'all's take on Mack's post-game comments? He's a hell of a coach and a legend in my eyes. Yeah, for those who didn't hear it, Mack's North Carolina Tar Heels lost 70-50 to James Madison. And one of Mack's comments to his team in the locker room was misconstrued. And he told the players in the locker room and the staff that if they don't get it fixed, that he would retire. Like whatever the problems they had, if they don't get it fixed, he would retire. And then I think once it got out, to the media and got on social media, it was the story, the narrative was that Mack was going to retire. That was not the case. He said they don't get it fixed, he will retire. And that's his, Mack, coach. I know Mack as well. Mack usually is not that, outspoken about issues like that. So, Mack was obviously very, very, I would say emotional.
He was embarrassed.
He was emotional. Yeah, 70-50, man. That's a lot of points to give up. So I think Coach, he's 73 years old. I don't know who in college football is older than Coach Mack Brown actually coaching.
Can either one of you guys tell me one player that's ever played for James Madison University?
They just got to the FBS level. I believe they just advance to the
I thought
FBS
it was
level?
Like a candy bar or something. Madison.
Coach, come on, show some respect for our fourth president. They named the university after him.
Yeah, well, they named the candy bar after him too, apparently.
So it's tough times for Mack. I love Mack. Mack's a great guy, Hall of Fame coach and Hall of Fame human being. That's what I always say. But whether he's gonna get that fixed, I do not know. I haven't done any research. I know, CJ, you watch a lot of college football. I actually don't know how good North Carolina is. I know the quarterback from James Madison had like a Heisman-esque type performance. All I know is that I think he Did he have like close to 100 yards rushing, like 300 yards passing, something crazy like that?
Man, he wasn't met with much sound defense, as we've been talking about. That was not I would say a theme for North Carolina defense this year.
His name was Alonzo. How about this? Sorry, CJ. Alonzo Barnett, the third. 388 yards passing, 5 touchdowns passing, 99 yards rushing, averaging over 7 yards per rush. He had 7 touchdowns total.
Cool.
North Carolina. He went off, CJ. So I think that's the process. I think Mack's like, I will figure it out. If I don't, I'll retire. Because I don't think he believes somebody's gonna go off like that again on his team. So there you go. Sorry.
Last time this happened, somebody else got retired when we got back to the tarmac from Provo, Utah in 2013. I was there.
I was on the sidelines for that one, Coach. I remember.
So that's what I would look for first. If his defense is giving up 70 points to a no-name school, not saying they're not talented. Obviously, they're talented. But I would look for that change first.
Yeah.
Before he just bails. Because I'm going to tell you what, Mack Brown we all know, he's a great man. He's a great guy. He's very wise, great coach. But I'm going to tell you, when you work for him, it's all business. And he will get on your general booty in a heartbeat. And he will, he holds you accountable for whatever your players do. And that's the way great coaches are. He's not trying to rule over the whole team. You're the head coach of your position. If they don't act right, it's because they don't respect you enough and you haven't built a good enough relationship with them as a coach. And I think that's very wise head coaching philosophy. So trust me, those coaches they've already got probably all they want.
They can handle.
Yeah, they're probably not having as fun on Monday as we are, right?
No.
That's for sure.
There ain't cracking general booty jokes, I promise you that.
No.
To your point, Coach, but Troy Aikman always tells a story that Mack Brown was one of the hardest, he's one of the hardest coaches he ever had because he was like Mack Brown was his coach when he was in Oklahoma. I think Mack was like a quarterback coach or an OC or something like that. And he told stories about Mack Brown being a hard ass. I was like, Mack Brown, that's crazy. But to your point, trust me, behind the scenes, when Mack needs to get it done, he can get it done. So I always remember that.
That's why I got one of the worst butt chewings I ever got.
Yeah,
but the great thing about him being the man he is, 30 seconds later, walking down the hall, he's got his arm around you.
Yeah,
that's how he is.
Yeah,
but you're going to get it right. You're going to get it right.
Yeah.
He's going to make sure you get it right. He's giving you the opportunity to get it right.
Coach, do you know Gene Chizik? Because Gene Chizik is a DC.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You know Coach Chizik? So that's the DC now. And I remember the worst butt chewing we ever got from Mack that I was like, okay, that's a little different, was after we lost to Oklahoma in 2000. Was it 63 to whatever it was? That was probably the worst. That's as bad as we've ever seen Mack. I don't think I've ever seen him that upset and that embarrassed because we were like embarrassed on national.
Okay, was that Chizik? Did that Chizik that hit the grease board and busted it?
No, that was Muschamp.
That was Muschamp.
Yeah,
that was Muschamp. Oh yeah, Muschamp was wild.
Man. They're from the same school, coaching school right there, baby.
Old school. Yeah, no. I remember Muschamp was intense, man. Intense. Yeah, see, CB, thank you, CB. And even said Mack nearly broke him. No, Mack was. Tell you now, Mack's got a different side when it comes. Hey, Coach Ship will tell you. I've seen him too. He's a great man, but he got some hard ass in him.
Yeah, but his teams aren't great by accident. It's because of the culture that he creates through making sure everybody has ownership,
accountability.
And with ownership comes responsibility.
Yep. With
responsibility comes adversity and things you have to overcome sometimes.
Love it.
Yeah.
How about this one from Jacob? Says if Arch is starting this week, you would want the practice time and game plan to revolve around getting him more comfortable with Quinn practicing. Is that a good indication he will get the start? I think it is a much better. I think it is a good indicator that if he's on track practice, because you got to practice during the week when you get to install and then the game plan just to be ready for game day. So the fact that he is practicing early on, that is a great sign. And like I said, the fact that Jaden Blue coming off of that 1 week where he got a chance to rest, got 25 rushes and 7 targets. Right now, Sark seems to be, all gas, no brakes. If you can play, you're going.
Yeah, that blows my theory out of the water right there.
Exactly.
Jacob, what do you think about that?
I was like, what? I couldn't believe it. So I think, Jacob, what about your thought? I know, CJ, this is what your theory is, that also if he can go, he will go, and you believe he will go, right?
Yeah, I think so. I'd have to go back and ask to see what Jaden Blue's kind of practice time allotment and how much he was able to carry in practice was a week ago. But to y'all's point, he was targeted 7 times in the passing game. He had 25 rush attempts. They wanted to feed Jaden Blue, and that's after he missed a game, right? So we also didn't see Trey Wisner. We didn't see Jelani McDonald. Derek Williams did not suit up. So they've been, cautious with guys that mean a whole lot to this team and will contribute a whole lot more to this team later on this year. With that said, if Quinn's able to throw a football, if he's able to hand a ball off, I think that you see him on Saturday. And it's very positive right now for those that want him to play on Saturday that he is practicing on Monday. I kind of watched him a little bit in pregame warmups just to see what he was doing. Of course, he was kind of tied to the hip of AJ Milwee and the quarterbacks as they warmed up. And you did see Quinn, he'd sit there and he'd catch a ball and he'd throw it about 10, 15 yards. And at no point, and I know it's in warmups and it's not a whole lot of physical strain there, but at no point did you see discomfort or him kind of grabbing at the side. So that's a good sign there. And again, I know it's not a whole lot, but for him to now be back on the sideline, he's taking those steps to be back on the field for Saturday. To Coach's point, and I think the broader point in general is how well does he kind of stand up to those, kind of unnatural movements that come as a quarterback, because you don't want this to become a longer issue deal. And my thing is, if he does play, I do trust Steve Sarkisian to protect him. So that doesn't mean a whole lot of rollouts. If it is a rollout, that means the pockets move in a different direction to give him space. He's not going to be in position to get hit a whole lot. In the quick game that we've seen Quinn already execute well is just going to get even quicker in the sense that, hey, we just need you to get that ball to the receiver in the flat. We need you to throw that bubble screen. We need you to do the pop pass and hand the ball off just so you can get used to throwing and catching and diagnosing it once again. He won't be asked to do a whole lot if he's playing, and that's where I lean again.
Yeah, he gets it out quickly. I think his time to throw so far this year is like 2.2 seconds. He's always in rhythm. And even Sark remarked that Arch was not really in rhythm most of the game. And Sark actually took ownership and said, that's on us, because we had him taking a lot of plays with a lot of deep shots instead of having those easy, gimme, high percentage throws to keep him in rhythm and keep him on schedule and on time. He really wasn't really on schedule often in the game. And Sark remarked that he probably took ownership of that, right?
That's one of the things that I kind of am a bit, cautious about with Sark when he has a guy like Arch Manning. I think Quinn does a great job of keeping Sark in check, right? And that's weird to say, but we see the deep plays called often for Quinn, and yet we see him throw underneath and to the check downs more so than any quarterback that Sarkisian's had at Texas. And I think there's a maturity level for Quinn there that, hey, if that look isn't exactly the way that I want it, it's not going there. And, we saw it with Arch. He liked to throw it deep, right? 10 passes over 20 yards. I look back to 2021 because I did go through the numbers last night. I don't know if, Matthew, you're able to pull up the numbers on Texas football, but I did the research that Arch is sitting at a quarter of his passes last night or so far this year are over 20 yards. That's 25.5%. That is almost 10% higher than any quarterback Sarkisian's had at Texas or Alabama. And I know it's only about 45, 50 passes, but that's a significant amount. Quinn's sitting much lower. I think so far this year, only 9% of his passes stretch beyond 20 yards. I think only 11%, 12% a year ago stretch beyond that as well. So you start to see kind of the the strengths and the characteristics of these quarterbacks, saying, yeah, with Arch in, we're hucking it deep. With Casey Thompson and Hudson Card, where that Texas offense got really stagnant, is when they continued to throw deep and deep and deep, and nothing was landing. Quinn's worst game, Oklahoma State 2022. What did they do? That was the longest average distance of target in a Quinn Ewers game in the Sarkisian era, 13.5 yards average distance of target. What did we see? 4 interceptions and a horrible day for Ewers and the Texas offense. It's one of those things that I'm kind of cautious about with Manning, because he is such a gunslinger and he can throw it so deep so well that, hey, when it goes bad, you see the 2 quick 3-and-outs, and then you're sitting there thinking, against an SEC team, 2 quick 3-and-outs is not going to be the recipe for success, because then your defense gets worn out. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of evolves in Arch's game as he continues to be the guy later on in his career. But I think you're going to see him kind of put that emphasis on him to say, yeah, hey, check down, take the yards, let your guys do the work afterward, because they are talented, as we've seen so far. Texas leads the SEC in YAC. So,
yep. No, good stuff there, CJ. And I totally agree. I think, I just think it's going to be different. And I talked about the verticality being added back with Arch. I had no idea they would be chunking it 8 times deep in the first half. That was wild to see. And I'm glad Sark even talked about it. Good stuff there.
Yeah, here it is.
Oh, nice. Good stuff.
You see everything sits around 15 to 16%, right? Quinn in his first year, that was the highest number that you saw him throw the ball beyond 20 yards down the field. And then what happened in 2023? Oh, we're going to cut that out of the game plan immediately, right? That's a 6% drop. That's pretty significant, right? And then, of course, now he's only about 9%. And, Michigan got after the quarterback pretty heavily. There wasn't a need really against a UTSA early or Colorado State to huck the ball down the field. But you see the mindset there. And again, I think that goes all the way back to Tua and Mac Jones at Alabama. Sark likes to keep it around a 15% level.
Yeah.
Arch is like, no.
No, I think, part of it is that I think it's naturally in him as a quarterback. He wants to throw it a little bit deeper. And Sark did say in the game plan for ULM, they wanted to attack vertically in the safety. So if he gets another start, it'll be interesting to see, CJ, good work there, if that trend continues for a young Arch. And here's a good question from CB. He says, do you think Arch was taking too many hits Saturday? Fozzie mentioned it multiple times on the broadcast. Coach, because he holds on to the ball longer, as CJ mentioned, Quinn's on time. Quinn's in rhythm. So he gets rid of the ball 2.2 seconds. That's no time for the pass rush to get there. But for Arch wants to hold on to the ball a little bit longer, and sometimes they'll move the pocket with him. Do you think, that he was taking too many hits from what you saw on Saturday?
Yeah, I thought he did take too many hits. But, again, I think Quinn's experience, he hits those check downs. He doesn't spend a whole lot of time watching guys to see if they're going to come open. He checks, and then boom, he's gotten rid of it. Arch probably watches his reads a little bit longer than Quinn does, just because of the lack of experience.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
By the way, one thing that I did notice, we were talking about it on Watch With Us broadcast. The safeties for ULM were not very fast. They just did not move that well, and I think we saw that early. They probably saw it on film, and we're trying to take advantage of that.
Yeah,
that's what he mentioned. He said Friday night he was actually laughing with Coach Milby about the number of shot plays that were in the game plan, because I think he kind of sat there and said, "Yeah, I mean, that's a lot for a single game plan against ULM." But because of that, approach and kind of the scouting beforehand, they saw that as a place that they could take advantage of the personnel on the field.
I love that, because that tells you about the strategy, right, Coach? That they go into the game plan looking at a specific weakness and essentially build the game plan off of plays in their catalog that target that specific weakness. And they didn't even realize how many of those plays were what they consider shot plays until they got to Friday and looked over all of the game plan and went, damn, do you realize that we got a lot of plays that's chunking the ball downfield? Because all they're focused on is what's the weakness of the opponent, all right, and what in our catalog what in our offensive identity exploits that weakness, and let's put those plays in. I actually love that mentality because it shows you how meticulous Sark and Milwee are about attacking a team's weakness and going and being stubborn about attacking it. Now, you said we could argue about should some of those have been checkdowns, but I like their thought process in the game planning. Okay, hit some more questions here. Hey, how about this one? It says Tex Mex Horn 94. Good afternoon, Rod, CJ, and Coach. Guys, when will we start seeing Black implemented into the offense? And should we be worried now? Ooh, worried by now, excuse me. Thank you, Tex Mex Horn 94. I'll say this, and I'm sure you've noticed it too, CJ. First of all, there's been a little bit, because I think it's multifactorial. Texas has been blowing some of these teams out. And when you're blowing out teams, you want to run the football to choke the clock out the rest of the game. So they do that out of 12 personnel. And in that 12 personnel, I will admit, when they run the 12 personnel within the script, so basically, in the first half of the game, essentially, you don't see Amari Black at all. You only see Amari Black when they run 12 personnel after the game is out of hand or in hand, or however you want to say it, and they decide, are we putting in our third string guys, fourth string guys? So it's clearly defined where he is on the depth chart, Coach and CJ. And I don't know if he's going to surpass Juan Davis.
No,
because Juan Davis, they trust him as a blocker in the run game and the pass game, and they're playing a lot more 12 personnel the last couple of weeks. I'm not sure if that's a run game dictated motivation for them. I'm not sure if it's because they've been up big in games and they're just trying to close the game out of 12 personnel. I'm not sure if that's something Arch related, since Arch is playing more. They like 12 personnel. I'm not sure exactly what that trend is based on, but they are playing more 12 personnel the last 2 weeks. And Amari Black is not seeing the field more as a result of that. So I don't think, guys, they have him in their plans right now. Number one, Gunnar Helm exceeded expectations, or at least not theirs, ours. But he's a guy that can now be a serious receiving threat and a capable blocker. And then Juan Davis may be a better, if not just as capable blocker as Gunnar Helm, not the receiver Gunnar Helm is, but I think that's something they want to open up too. I don't see Amari Black right now in the plans.
I think you're right. I think Amari has just stepped into a really unusual situation where we have really, really good players at any position he could play. It's not worth, okay, so you take a receiver out and put him in as an H out there or whatever. Are you really improving yourself, with your personnel on the field? I don't think so. We don't have a weak wide receiver we can take out and put Amari in there to almost block out a guy on a stick or throw a jump ball up to him or something. He's in a really peculiar team situation now where there's just not enough. There's just too many good players on there for him to break in and have any real meaningful snaps, at least up to this point.
Yeah, and when you're trying to break into a position room that has guys that's producing right now, the last thing that you can do is go in there and commit penalties. And we've heard something on number 8 several times this year, whether that be in special teams, whether that be a holding against Michigan that negated a big play to Jonte Cook. I wonder, I don't know. I wonder if the trust is there to go out there and execute the playbook without committing a penalty. And again, going into SEC play, those margins for trust they're sky high. You can't have a guy out there that you don't know is going to run the right route or pick up the right block. That's the experience that we talk about on the offensive line that's so valuable. They know one another's strengths and weaknesses. They know the scheme. Right now with Amari Black, you got guys that have been in the system for 4 years and they've been playing good football right now. Where does he fit in? I don't know. If you're worrying, I tend to agree.
Yeah, it's a first world problem, as kind of Coach mentioned. You're just so talented. You probably got him because you assumed, hey, we may have a need for him, or we may have a role for him, but right now I just don't really see it. And I always thought maybe they would throw out some 3 tight end packages if they really wanted to get funky with some certain looks, but that's not something that Sark is exploring at all. How about this one? Kyle says, CJ, any update on Sadir? Yeah, that was a weird story. Sadir Mitchell, any update on that?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the latest is on him. I know that there was a bit of some heated tempers on the sideline.
Yeah.
That's all I know. He did not come out suited up to play in the second half. So we'll see. You know, I'm sure that's an internal thing that they'd like to get figured out. But right now, we'll see, of course, later on this week what the availability of Sadir Mitchell will be.
I know that was weird. I saw that. We were talking about that in the post game a little bit, and even Bobby kind of remarked the same thing you did. There's no details, but it's just very strange. It's very strange to see a guy just walk off, and no injury related issue there. How about this one from Braves Texas fan 123 says, if we get a big lead, we should take out Blue, Gibson, and Weiser to save them. Run Niblett to get him more experience as running back. Was impressed with Page. Is Gardner hurt? Why pick him up and not play him? I don't know why Velton Gardner didn't play in the last game versus ULM. And I agree, Colin Page averaging over 6 yards per carry, looked good. And Ryan Niblett, I mean, those guys, I did not expect, Jaden Blue to get 25 carries. Those guys should play a little bit more if you're up big in games, if you trust them to take care of the football, which I think that coaches do. And you should, try to save your running backs. Trey Wisner didn't play. If I'm not mistaken, CJ, are they reporting a hamstring injury is what I heard Jerry say about Trey Wisner?
Yeah, he had a wrap on his hamstring. I thought it was a lower body injury a week ago that kind of gave out on him against UTSA. He did suit up. He did go through warmups. Great sign there. I don't think it's anything long-term, but again, we're at that point in the schedule right now where Texas has the luxury to sit guys that are kind of dinged up. We'll see. There was no update today from Sarkisian about his availability for this week. So up in the air right now, again, I think very similarly to Quinn and what we saw from Jaden Blue, if he's healthy and able to go, they're going to put him back on the field. And to the point about Velton Gardner, why pick him up? Well, you had two guys go down due to season-ending injuries, and he's a guy with Power 5 experience. So you'd like to have some capable bodies that have proven it at other places in your room at the time. And, luckily for Texas, Colin Page is heck of an athlete as well. That was a 20-yard run that was tied for the longest of the evening. He looked pretty darn good out there. I wouldn't be opposed to seeing him get some of that mop-up duty later on this year.
Yeah, he did. He did look pretty good. Coach, what are your thoughts about the running back room? You said you were surprised, like we all were, about Jaden Blue getting that much work. Would you put Jaden Blue and the running backs on a pitch count, essentially, at this point in the season?
Maybe so. I wonder if they'll dial back a little bit this week on him. I think he proved he can handle the load. Maybe not. They may go full steam ahead with him. He's certainly the horse that we're going to ride, I guess. Jarrett Gibson was a little tender, I think, during the game. Didn't he come out at one point?
Yep.
Yeah. But he was able to come back in and get a touchdown. And I say, I like how Jaden looked. He looked healthy. I say let's keep playing him. And not sure what's up with Wisner, but Jarrett Gibson's certainly capable if we can keep him healthy.
All right, we got a couple of super chats. I know we're getting close to the end of it here. So read these super chats, and then we'll thank our sponsor from Duck Camp. But Jeff says, love your work. Sending a virtual hug. Thank you, Jeff. We appreciate the love. Thank you, Jeff. Also, Jeff sent this in. Christian Coleman ran a 4.1240. I guess Jeff was talking about 40-yard dashes yesterday, about the fastest 40s on record. And I believe our conversation, I referenced Bo Jackson, who's on record for saying he ran a 4.13, I think a 4.1240, actually. Go look that up. Bo Jackson, that's out of his words, actually. That was Bo Jackson said he did that. He said there are witnesses to it. Who knows? That's some freaky stuff. Thank you very much for the super chat. Kabir here says, with our wide receiver depth, does it make it harder for guys to increase their draft stock? Not as high stats, not as many plays on film, etc. What are your thoughts about that? Do you guys think that this hurts their draft stock because they don't get the workload and the production that a Xavier Worthy got or something like that? Coach?
I don't think so.
Probably,
I think it could hurt some postseason awards, but the draft, man, they're trying to project you as an NFL player. They're not looking at your stats, in my opinion. There are a lot of guys who have had great stats that didn't really make it in the NFL because A, they could have been just a product of the system, but B, they certainly want to be able to see that you're making some plays and you have some big play capabilities as a receiver. But I think more than anything, they're just looking at you fundamentally, the way you run, the way you block, how consistent you are with your routes, how developed you are getting off press coverage and that type of stuff. They're trying to project you in their league. I don't think they're going, hey, we got to draft this guy. He caught, 75 catches last season. Well, that doesn't mean a lot to the NFL scouts. I took care of the scouts when they came in for a couple of years, and they never asked to see stats. They just want to see film.
They want to see you. Damn right about that, Coach. All right. Thank you for the super chat there, Kabir. We appreciate it. Let's thank our friends over at Duck Camp. I'm representing Duck Camp right now. Duck Camp produces premium outdoor goods for the outdoor spirit in all of us. Duck Camp is dedicated to providing the best outdoor goods so you can outdoor good, whether you're an avid hunter or you prefer fishing, or you're like me and you like to hang out around the campsite and prefer the camaraderie of the campfire. Duck Camp is a brand that understands the culture of outdoor living and the good times and good friends that come along with living an outdoor lifestyle. So check them out for yourself, duckcamp.com. They got a new fall selection out right now, and it is fantastic. I've already ordered some items. I'll be repping those items pretty soon. So thank you to our friends over at duckcamp.com. All right, I'm going to try to fly through a couple of these questions before we get to the end of our live stream here. My man CB says, who runs faster, Rod B or Philip Geiger? Stevie Lee's not here, but even Stevie Lee would admit Rod B's faster than my man P. Jeezy. I love P. Jeezy, though. P. Jeezy was good people, man. Love me some P. Jeezy, but I'm faster than P. Jeezy. I still am. Even to this day, I don't even know what P. Jeezy runs. I'm still faster than P. Jeezy. Y'all tell him I said so. Mike M. Says,
let's have a Seinfeld episode and let's see.
Let's go. I'm down. I am down. P. Jeezy. Anytime you want to raise, I'm down. And tell CB's the one that started this damn thing. Mike M says, Rod, do you know how many receiving targets Blue has on the year? Yes, I'm glad you asked, Mike, because it's actually something I was interested in. So I believe Isaiah Bond is leading the Longhorns in targets right now. He's got 20. Jaden Blue is second, guys. He's got 19 targets on the season. And he's missed a game. He's had at least, how about this stat? Jaden Blue has had at least 6 targets in every game so far this year.
Gosh.
Bijan Robinson didn't have a 6-target game in all of 2022. He had 1 in 2021. How about this? Bijan had 29 total targets in 2022, 31 in 2021. Jaden Blue already has 19.
Oof.
That's different. Now he needs to catch them, and they need to connect on it because he had 7 versus ULM and only caught 1. 1 of 7. That ain't good. Half the damn incompletions that Arch had were to Jaden Blue. That ain't good.
Well, they weren't all Jaden's fault though.
They weren't. They were no. I'm not saying they weren't. They were not. You're right, there, Coach. He was off in some of his, that layering, throwing. I think it's called the feathering of the ball is what Bobby called it.
Hey, Rod, is it? I don't know if concerning is the right word, but 28 targets so far to Wisner and Blue, 14 receptions, 50%. You would expect that to be an easy pitch and catch, right? Is that something that just needs more time between quarterback and running back, or is that something to worry about long term?
That's good. Cause you know what? Sark brought it up, didn't he? Today he talked about the screen game. He said, I would like our screen game to be implemented a little bit more and to be executed better. So I think what he's talking about is exactly what you brought up there, CJ, is that's the screen game, essentially. A lot of that is their screen game. And the screen game hasn't necessarily been I think a big part of the offense so far this early. And I think he wants more of that screen game. And that is the chemistry that, Arch has now with the running backs, but that Quinn has with the running backs too. Good point there. I did not realize that, CJ. That's good stuff.
I think on some of the passes that weren't great passes, he was a check down and Arch was having to adjust his body and his mind into dumping it off while getting some pressure. Totally different than most practices. Most practices, you go through, the coach may say, okay, let's go to your third read. So he'll look one, look two, throw it to three. It's easy. He knows what's coming. In a game, with everything coming full speed and you're checking your other reads before you get to your check down, and then you have pressure coming on your check down, it's a lot harder than it looks, guys. Just to dump, it sounds easy. It looks easy. Just dump it off. It's not that easy, because sometimes you're moving a different direction than the receiver is moving. Sometimes you're fading away, trying to get away from the rush or whatever. There's a lot of things that come into play on those passes, and Quinn just makes them look easy.
That's a great point, Coach. And I agree. Great point to leave it on. Oh, we got one more super chat. This is the last one of the night. And I apologize, guys. We didn't get to all the questions. So please, guys, hit up Coffee and Football in the morning with the questions or the comments. I promise you we'll address them all. Always makes me feel bad when we don't get to all of your questions and comments. But Eric, last super chat of the night, says, keep doing your thing, fellas. You guys kill it every day, every week. We see you, CJ and Rout, with those points picks, and Rod picking players of the game pregame and pick them both. Hey, thank you, Eric. We appreciate all of your support as well. Thank you for the super chat. It means a lot to us. And we appreciate all of you guys and all the super chats as well. Excuse me. Let me thank another one of our sponsors before we end our live stream here in the Winning Drive. Let's thank our friends over at South Point. Texas football fans, you can score an easy extra point this season when you get to the point over at South Point Dodge. South Point Dodge has over 600 vehicles in stock right now, including a great selection of Ram 1500s, 2500s, and 3500s. Whatever your truck needs, South Point Dodge is the one-stop shop. So go head over to, right now, head over to South Point Dodge, and you right now can get a great deal right now on over 50 Ram 2500s, all marked down with huge savings over at South Point Dodge. Check them out online at southpointdodge.com, or you can go visit them for yourself off of I-35 in South Austin over at South Point Dodge. So thank you very much to South Point Dodge. Whatever your truck needs, South Point Dodge is the one-stop shop. Austin's automotive everything, southpointdodge.com. All right, thank you to South Point Dodge. Thank you to our good friends over at Duck Camp. Thank you to Flat Creek State Winery. Thank you to Stevie Lee, lifetime Longhorn Stevie Lee, for joining us. And thank you to our friends over at Hard Grove Roofing for sponsoring the Winning Drive. Thank you to Matthew behind the scenes. Can't thank him enough. Matthew is the real MVP, guys. It would not happen without him. CJ, we appreciate all of the nuggets you give us. Coach, we appreciate all your wisdom. We're smarter for it. Don't forget the Winning Drive. We'll be back on Thursday, same time, around 3. We'll go to about 4:15, 4:30, depending on your questions or comments. Tomorrow, you got Coffee and Football starting up at 8 a.m., and we got our Tuesday live stream that'll be at 7 p.m. Thank you guys for all your participation. Really appreciate it. Thank you for all the super chats as well. And until next time, for CJ, for Coach, for Matthew, for On Texas Football, hook 'em horns.